Hey everybody, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be covering my whole entire Disney performing journey. Character performer to shows, to Disney Cruise Line, to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. It's kind of like my Disney resume, I guess. Also, before we start, I just want to let you guys know I am an audition and vocal coach. If you are interested in a career in the performing arts, whether that's for Disney, at your school, performing professionally on Broadway or national tours, whatever your goals are, I want to help. You can check out more information in the link in the description. Okay, let's jump into it. My junior year of high school, I put together that being a Disney princess was a real job. I had grown up going to Disney World and Disneyland a couple of times throughout my childhood, and I always loved the characters. I just never realized they were real people. I'd been performing all my life at this point, and I put it on my bucket list to be a Disney princess. The summer after my senior year of high school, I started auditioning for Disney. I auditioned for everything I could get my hands on. Character performer at Disney World, character performer at Tokyo Disneyland, Shanghai Disneyland, Hong Kong Disneyland, vocalist calls, what have you. I auditioned for as many things as I could. A lot of people ask how many auditions I did before I booked with Disney. I think it was 7. The first character performer audition I went to at Disney World, they fit me as Cinderella, which was very exciting, very magical. I was 18, I was like, ah! And I got an email a couple weeks later saying, sorry, you were not approved as Cinderella. And I was like, okay.
Not stopping me.
The audition that I booked from, I was in New York City because I was living up there at the time doing a dance training program at Broadway Dance Center. So I'd been living there for about 3 months. I got a call from a recruiter. They were like, we would love to invite you to become a character performer at Disney World. They said, you're approved in Mr. Smee. And then she kind of waited a second. She was like, and Princess Anna. And I was like, I finished up my dance training program at Broadway Dance Center in early December, went back home for Christmas. Shortly after Christmas, I moved down to Disney World and started my new job performing there. The first thing that we went through was fur training. Taught us everything we needed to know about how to animate as a fur character, how to tell a full story while just using our movements and our body. It was hard, but it was so fun. I've never done performing like that ever. I debuted my very first character as Mr. Smee in Epcot. Insert picture here. Next day, I was King Louie. Wow! I had poles for arms. And you may be thinking, Emma, those are some weird characters to debut as. And you'd be correct. Most people, when they are hired as a character performer at Disney World, have a VIP assigned to them. So VIPs are the Fab Five, essentially. We've got Mickey, Minnie, Donald. Boomy is not a fur character, but you're very furry. You want to sit with me and help tell this part of the story? We've got Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, the Chipmunks, and Pluto. Daisy, I don't know. However many there are. I did not have a VIP character, and it's kind of based on height ranges. Most of the princesses are in the chipmunk height range or the Pluto height range. I should have been Pluto. I'm 5'5". Disney measured me at 5'4 3/4, which just so happens to put me in this weird in-between space called dead height. Essentially, that means I don't have a VIP character, and I get all the weird characters, which even better. I was only ever Mr. Smee, King Louie, and the Easter Bunny. Oh, and Bolt from the movie Bolt, the dog, the white dog. Insert picture here. They tried to fit me in Mrs. Incredible, but my calves were too large for the boots to zip up. Outside of my fur character training, I got assigned a lot of really fun shifts. I did a lot of Pirates and Pals, which I'm not sure if they're still doing, but it was at the Contemporary Resort. And basically it was a special dessert party that you could pay for to watch the fireworks from a boat, and Captain Hook and Mr. Smee would escort you to the boat and show up at your dessert party. A lot of like weird hobbling like this. Ooh. And then I also ended up doing a lot of the Anything Happens Here dance party, which was a dance party in Hollywood Studios at the time. That is where Bolt appeared. And the fun thing about that shift is you cannot have a queue line form. There's no meet and greet portion of it. You really just want to avoid a big crowd gathering around you being like, Bolt, Bolt, Bolt. So for that whole shift, I just danced. danced my little heart out, and I was sweaty, and it was a great workout. After a month or so of shifts like that, on my schedule popped up a Princess Anna face training. Essentially, they take you through the movie. You repeat a lot of the lines that she says to get that similar inflection and rhythm and some of the buzzwords that she says often. You go through all the mannerisms and the poses and what you can say and what you can't, how to build a storyline, and really kind of what's expected of you in a meet and greet. Eventually, I did my debut day there. We were at Princess Fairy Tale Hall in Magic Kingdom at the time. I loved being Princess Anna. I loved meeting kids. I really never got tired of it. Of course, there were days where I was like, oh, I don't want to wake up. I don't feel like going into work. But once I was there, I was so excited.
Show me one of your ice quizzes.
Wow.
Wow, that was so good. Did you get a little cold with it?
It did.
Yeah, I felt a little cold too.
If you'd like to know more about a day in the life of being a character performer, what my experience was, more details there, please leave a comment below asking those questions, and let me know if you want me to make a video just on being a character performer. A few months after I started working for Disney, they ended up casting me in one of their new shows that they were opening called Mickey's Royal Friendship Fair. It's still playing today, and I got to be a part of the original cast for MRF, as we call it, MRFF. Was part of the original 4 Princess Annas that were trained in that show, and got to be a part of kind of the workshopping of it as well. There were so many rules about Frozen and who they could be seen with and how close they could be to other characters. They're kind of considered their own entity. So Frozen has what we call the Frozen Police, and they kind of dictate what Frozen can and can't do. Anyway, I went to Disney because I had been doing musical theater my whole life, and Broadway was always my end goal. Disney World is the only theme park, I think, in the United States that offers actors equity. So if you're not familiar, Actors Equity is the actors union. You have to be a part of Actors Equity to be guaranteed to be seen for professional auditions like Broadway or national tours. So I knew I needed to get that card to then go back to New York and audition for Broadway. That leads me into my next thing. That whole time that I was a character performer, I was auditioning for all of these equity shows at Disney. Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Frozen, Finding Nemo, everything I could get my hands on. I would make it through to the last round of callbacks the majority of the time, but I would never book it. And I knew that I was good enough to book those roles, and I was wondering what it could be, why was I not booking this? And I had asked some of my friends that had made the transition from being a character performer to an equity performer, because fun fact, you can't do both. They're 2 separate departments within entertainment. You cannot be a character performer and in equity shows as an equity actor. I brought up to my friends, do you think it would help me if I just quit? And they were like, yeah. So the next day I quit. I didn't think hard about it. I was like, great, that's what I gotta do. I'll quit. I'm a very impulsive person, and I really trust my gut. And the next audition I went to, I booked. Before I tell you what the first equity show I booked at Disney World was, let me tell you my experience auditioning for them. I had auditioned for this show several times, and sometimes for this audition, they would do a type out. And a type out, if you're not familiar, the casting director just looks at your face and then they make a cut from there. I had been cut from the last type out I did for that show, which was super disappointing because I was already approved in this character. This is why I tell people when I do my audition and vocal coaching sessions, specifically when people are auditioning for Disney, Disney makes dollars, not cents. You just don't know what they're thinking. And that show was the Frozen Sing-Along. I was auditioning for Princess Anna. And finally, after I quit, they hired me. So I was hired as a sub. That basically means that I'm guaranteed no days to work. And I just got a job working at Universal. I know this is the Disney video, but at Universal, I did Grinchmas over the Christmas season, and then I also did the Harry Potter Frog Choir as the soprano Slytherin. And while I was working at Frozen, I also was still auditioning for more of their equity shows there. So the next equity show I booked was Disney Junior Live on Stage. So cute. I loved that show. I actually snagged a full-time contract for this, but the only way that I got that full-time contract was because every other person contracted there got pregnant all at the same time. And the one man, because the role could be a man or a woman, the one man that was contracted there full-time, his wife got pregnant. So I don't know what was in the water. I didn't get pregnant. They needed people, and there I was to step up. So I was there 4 days a week. I loved that stage. I loved the kids. I loved the show. It was just so sweet. And those puppeteers are some of the hardest working performers I've ever seen. They're so skilled and talented. Big props to the puppeteers there. Love you guys, miss you guys. You guys are awesome. They were the heart of that show. While I was at Disney Junior, I booked Finding Nemo, which in the Disney World culture, Finding Nemo was one of those really sought after shows that people wanted to be in. It's the longest show on Disney property. It also has a huge ensemble, which is fantastic performers. I mean, there's fantastic performers no matter where you go at Disney. That show specifically has a lot of Broadway veterans and just really cool people of all ages and all backgrounds. So it was just a really cool experience to be a part of. Got to learn a little bit how to puppeteer. I was in the ensemble for that show. That was actually my least favorite show to be in. Not because I didn't like the show, but I only did that show, I think a total of 4 times because I was a sub there. And every time I would go in, it had been like a month plus since I had done it last. And I was so nervous that I would forget all of my blocking. And then for that show too, there's a lot of backstage blocking. Like if I'm not there to catch a prop, something breaks or I'm letting the rest of my cast down. So I was always so nervous and stressed every time I performed in that show. It never got to the point that it was enjoyable for me. And while I was doing Finding Nemo, I can't remember exactly when. I think the next thing I booked was special events with Disney, which was a really big honor. They're very selective. It's for singular events. So they don't really cast understudies or multiples of people. It's like just you. And I was cast in one event for a really big company. They were having their big chairman's meeting or something, and we put on like a huge dinner show for them. In that show, I was cast as Rapunzel, and I got to sing I See the Light with Flynn. Several of the other performers, like our Elsa, she's on Broadway right now. Shout out to you. Like the cast was just incredible. That event went so well. They then hired me and the Flynn writer to do I See the Light at a few more events. One of them was to represent Disney Cruise Line, which was kind of some foreshadowing. Anyway, huge honor, loved it. I had never gotten to be Rapunzel. That was the second princess that I ever got to be. And then I booked a Totally Tomorrowland Christmas in Magic Kingdom. I played Haley Comet, who's like the Elle Woods of Christmas, is how they describe her. She's super cute. I was actually so nervous and stressed doing that show. There was a lot of expectation to sing in my chest voice and like singing these like pop songs, these pop Christmas songs. And I was never very comfortable singing pop, and I was still pretty new at navigating my chest voice. And so your girl was nervous, and I felt like I was letting people down a lot. So as magical as that experience was, I also just remember being so nervous and stressed that I was like, am I good enough to be in this role? Like, I don't feel like I am. If you're watching this video being like, wow, she did so many things with Disney, I just want to work for Disney. Like, even I feel unequipped or imposter syndrome in these moments, even though I had all that experience with Disney at this point. Going back to when I did some of those special events, one of the performers there had done Disney Cruise Line, and they were telling me how much they loved it. And I started kind of getting this feeling where I was like, I think I want to do that, and I think that's my next step. While I was in A Totally Tomorrowland Christmas, I think it was in November, I went to audition for Disney Cruise Line for the first time. I wanted to be one of their main stage vocalists. At this point in my Disney career, I was pretty familiar with a lot of casting, and one of the casting directors that had cast me in several shows at Disney had moved over to Disney Cruise Line to cast there. It was actually perfect timing where I emailed them and I said, hi, I saw that you just moved to Disney Cruise Line. I'm gonna come audition for Disney Cruise Line. I just wanna let you know I'm gonna be there on this date. So excited to see you. And they responded and they were like, oh my gosh, Emma, yay. Why don't you just come to the callback? I'm CCing the casting director. Here's the material that we want you to prepare. Just come straight to the callback. That made me feel really fancy. Not gonna lie. I was like, wow. And I guess that's, kind of an example of networking working. They called me back for Rapunzel in Tangled the Musical, The Blue Fairy in Disney Dreams, and Cinderella in Twice Charmed. So all of these were shows on the Magic. A couple weeks later, I think in like December, I got the call that they were offering me a contract with Disney Cruise Line, and I was so excited. That begun my Disney Cruise Line experience, which I would really like to make a whole separate video getting into all the details and the nitty-gritty of my cruise line experience. Let me know in the comments if that's something that you want to see. I was originally offered Ensemble in Tangled, Ensemble and Understudy Cinderella and Twice Charmed, and Belle and a dancer track for Disney Dreams. Crazy enough, get to rehearsals, the woman who was cast as our Cinderella and our Rapunzel, she was gonna play both tracks, ended up not taking her contract. So both of those roles were open. They brought someone in who had done Cinderella before to take over for Cinderella, and then they did another audition for some of us in rehearsals for Rapunzel. And I ended up being Rapunzel. That was so crazy. And my mom had this weird premonition about that. I'd called her once I had gotten my contract and told her how excited I was, and also that I was a little bummed. I was like, I really thought, maybe I would get one of those. And she was like, you will. She was like, you will. Once you get to rehearsal, they're gonna give you Rapunzel. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, they're not just gonna take that away from someone else. But turns out that is what happened. And of course they didn't take it away from anyone, but just luck of the draw. What I ended up doing for Disney Cruise Line was Rapunzel and Tangled, understudy Cinderella and Twice Charmed, but I went on for about a month and a half straight for Cinderella. And then in Disney Dreams, I was Belle in the dancer track, and I understudied Cinderella and Anna, which was one track. So I also went on for Cinderella and Anna pretty often. I went to 25 different countries. It was incredible. I made some really wonderful friends, and there were also some hard parts about it too, for sure. For sure. But if you want to know more about what ship life is like and performing on a cruise ship, let me know in the comments. When I got back from Disney Cruise Line, this was December of 2019. You can guess what huge world event was just around the corner. I had planned after Christmas, being back with my family off of the ship, to move to New York. I had all this money now. I was gonna go do the thing I'd set out to do. I got a call from one of the casting directors who knew me from Disney World, and they asked if I would send in a self-tape for Ariel in Voyage of the Little Mermaid. They needed an emergency replacement. And I was like, yeah. I love that show. I had always wanted to be Ariel. I had never gotten to be Ariel for Disney. At this point, I'm just trying to collect all the princesses that I can be. So I was like, sure. And it was a 3-month contract. It was a writer contract because I was taking over for someone. So I was like, yeah, you know what? I can postpone 3 more months, make some extra money, and then go. Why not live another dream? So I learned that show in the middle of my contract. It's March, and the world shuts down because COVID-19 hits. Of course, Disney World followed suit. All of the Disney parks around the world shut down. Eventually, I was then furloughed. Disney World started opening back up again. It didn't feel like the right time for me to move. I was kind of just figuring out things. I wrote a whole album, recorded it, produced it, and released that during COVID. So that was my COVID project. If anyone would like to check it out, it's available on all streaming services. It's called Now, all original songs, all written by me. Anywho, eventually I got a call. I was still in Orlando. I got a call from a casting director. They invited me to come back to Frozen Sing Along. It just wasn't the right time to move to New York with everything that was going on in the world. And I didn't have a job in Orlando. And so why wouldn't I take it, and get to do that again? And so I did, and that was really, very full circle, coming all the way back around to Frozen. Never thought I would see Princess Anna again, so hey girl. Once it felt right, it was 2022, I think, so it had been 2 years since COVID hit. That is when I decided I'm done with Disney. It really wasn't about I'm done with Disney. It was I'm ready to move on to the next part of my life, which is New York. I gotta go do that. I quit at Disney World and I moved to New York and started doing all that stuff there. A year into being there, Disney Cruise Line reached out to me, which at this point I thought I was done with Disney. I wasn't auditioning for anything else. I felt like I had done pretty much everything I wanted to do there. Was ready to just, put forth all my effort into Broadway and national tours and all those auditions. Disney Cruise Line emails me and they're like, how do you feel about coming in and auditioning for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade? And I was like, oh my gosh, why yes? Because that is a huge bucket list thing for me. My mom and I watch the parade every year. It's been one of her goals for me in my performing career to perform in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. So when I had that opportunity, I was like, of course, yes. So I went and auditioned, invited me to be Rapunzel in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade with Disney Cruise Line on their float. And we got to do, a televised performance as well as going through the whole street doing the parade. And it was really fun because I'd never gotten to do a parade with Disney before. And really, I mean, this was actually the full circle moment because I never thought I'd be a character performer again. And like, it's a character performer role. I never saw that coming in my entire life. After that, Disney would call me every once in a while I was living in New York to help them block shows that they were workshopping and things like that for Disney Cruise Line. And so I would just stand in as a character and just be a little chess piece for them to move around and see what looked good. Since then, I moved here to Whidbey Island, Washington, all the way across the country. Could not be any more different. And I have started, since I lived in New York, being an audition and vocal coach. I specialize in Disney auditions, but I'm an audition and vocal coach for anyone and everyone. Whether you just want to learn how to sing for fun, or you're trying to audition for Disney, or Broadway, or your school play, or really anything. All ages and all skill levels. If you're interested in working with me, my website link is in the description, so you can check that out for more information or to book your first session. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love making videos for all of you. Please comment, like, subscribe. What else would you guys want to know? Please drop those questions in the comments below. And like always, I don't speak for the company. I enjoy making this content for people who are trying to pursue a career similar to what I've gotten to do. And if I can help you, why wouldn't I? You know what I mean? I don't want to gatekeep. I just want to talk about my experience and help other people get to live their dreams because I had so much fun living mine. Now I'm finding new dreams, just like Rapunzel. So check out some of my other videos if you want to hear more. I'll see you guys next time.